Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 267, Beyond the Personality Tests. This episode is likely to attract some criticism, but I'm up for that, and here's why. I still maintain that reading the small paragraph printed in black and white in a handbook that summarised my personality type was the most revealing and pivotal moment of my life. Sound dramatic? Well, it was. And what I'm about to share will give you a real insight into just how significant it has been for me. Let me take you back to May the 13th, 1992. In a plush, by today's standards, Hilton Hotel, where I was a participant on a prestigious leadership development programme being run by the Cranfield School of Management. I know the date and location as I still have the notes I took from those 2 weeks of intensive development. That's how powerfully I was impacted. Here is what I read as an insight into my personality type. Retiring, quietly friendly, sensitive, kind, modest about their abilities. Shun disagreements, do not force their opinions or values onto others. Usually do not care to lead but are often loyal followers. Relaxed about getting things done because they enjoy the present moment and do not want to spoil it by undue haste or exertion. The first time I read that, I sat back a little in disbelief, but with such a sense of gratitude. Those 54 words changed my life. Not because they defined me, but because I knew in that moment that there were others like me. I was not a weirdo who needed fixing. I had natural ways of being that could be usefully categorised. And that's something we all do. We just may not be aware that we're doing it. The science writer and anthropologist Peter Farb showed how categorisation is fundamental to human life and that children begin organising their world through culturally informed lenses from an early age. Useful categorisation. The 4 letters of my type, which, in case you're interested, are ISFP, introverted, so energised by my inner world, sensing, meaning I rely on all of my senses to gather data, feeling, meaning I use person-centred data to make my decisions, and perceiving, meaning I continue to gather data and keep my options open for as long as possible. And those 4 letters simply showed me that I am more like some than I am like others. Those who dismiss MBTI as a load of hogwash, even though it's one of the most popular personality assessments in the world, do so because they say it has low test-retest reliability and doesn't predict people's job performance or behaviour. Well, good. I was never looking for something that boxed me or could be used to predict what I might do. And of course, the naysayers, often academics, protest that with our current understanding of neuroscience, Jung's theories, whilst groundbreaking at the time, are now viewed as outdated. And yet, most personality tests are still built on Jungian psychology. But all of that, frankly, is merely a distraction from the moment of cognition that stays with me to this day when I discovered my type. I guess for the neurotypical or those who are represented by the extrovert ideal, no such moments were ever needed, because those people are part of the acceptable norm. Not so in my case. I said at the outset that our personality type should not define us or what we choose to do with our life. Its purpose is to aid understanding, not to be a handbook for how we live our life. In fact, both at the time of me taking the test, which was subsequently reinforced when I trained as a certified MBTI practitioner, it was drilled into us that all of us use all of the preferences at different times. Type is not an excuse for doing or not doing anything. Your type should not keep you from considering any career or activity, and MBTI does not measure ability. Suffice to say, any personality tests like MBTI help us to understand ourselves better. It's a piece of the jigsaw of self-awareness, not the whole picture. So those who hide inside or behind their introversion are misinformed at best and deluded at worst. And if you use your introversion as an excuse for your behaviour, you are not taking responsibility. My introversion is a part of who I am, not the entirety. Once we accept these points, we're better able to understand the shape of our comfort zone, the choices we make, and the challenges we face. We know that our introversion is not the real reason we haven't reached our potential, although we may have tried to blame it on that. As I've shared before, comfort zones are incredibly important spaces for us to do what we do well without having to exert ourselves. But if we spend all of our time there, we will stagnate. One of the most avoidant phrases we could ever utter is, "That's just the way I am." Choice, my friend, choice. We are all work in progress, so please take responsibility and admit that you're choosing to stay as you are. There is no shame in staying put, as long as it's not staying stuck and playing the victim or blaming others. Indeed, for some people, it is their chosen life path. So how do we take more responsibility in order to make the best use of our personality type? First, recognise that your personality type is a starting point and just one of the jigsaw pieces that makes you, you. We know that self-awareness is the greatest part of emotional intelligence, so the more jigsaw pieces you identify, the more you may recognise how they create the whole, and the better able you will be to respond appropriately. Second, adopt a growth mindset. Appreciate and accept that effort ultimately leads to improvement, but it may not be a quick return. See failures as opportunities to learn rather than reasons to give up. Experiment with new ways of being, as that builds neuroplasticity, those valuable new connections in our brain. Third, use your type to understand why you might find some things challenging that others do not. Rather than rule out certain things, understand what you need to do to be ready. People often tell me that you can't be an introvert as you run training events and speak in front of hundreds of people. That's a myth that we can all have a hand in busting. There is nothing we cannot do as long as we know how to ready ourselves and replenish afterwards. Fourth, get familiar with and really own the strengths associated with your type. Aligned with my type, coupled with the vast amounts of feedback I've received and all of the work I've done on myself, I know I have to do work I truly believe in, as this provides energy for my efforts. I am shockingly lackluster when expected to do something that clashes with my principles, which of course are linked to my values and morals. I will drag my feet like a petulant toddler, and no amount of persuading or rationalising will tempt me to pick up the pace. And let me share a little snippet from the MBTI ISFP description. It says, they want their work to contribute to something that matters to them. Human understanding, happiness or health. Tick. Fifth and finally, know your weaknesses and development areas, and know they are not the same. I may have an allowable weakness that it's not worth spending my precious energy on, but a development area is something that, unless I improve it, will hold me back in some way. I know I have a very real and felt sense of inadequacy due to the stark contrast between my inner ideals and my accomplishments. I've been working on this for many, many years, and it continues to be something at my learning edge. Learning how to stop underrating and understating myself has been a long but essential journey. How else would I be able to help other introverts do the same? So I'm left pondering these three questions. What is it about myself that helps me in this quest called life? What might I be hiding behind or inside of? And where am I underestimating myself in terms of both progress and potential? If I can pull the threads together of this episode, there are a few important messages to share. Growth happens when we expand our comfort zones. This means doing more of the things at our learning edge, the things that we sometimes think twice about, but we know that we'd regret not doing them. When we do more things at our learning edge, in small but sustainable ways, the more that becomes subsumed into our comfort zone at a later stage. This is essential for our growth mindset and to prevent stagnation. Associate with people who encourage you to grow to become the best version of yourself, not a carbon copy of someone else. These are special people who see your potential and are mindful of your personality type and natural talents. They enable you to shine rather than trying to make you change your personality. Remember that our type is one of the jigsaw pieces, not the whole picture. We're designed to flex and adapt, but not bend ourselves so out of shape that we don't know who we are. Think of it as borrowing a coat to wear for a certain situation. When the situation is done, you can put the coat away again until the next time and wear your more familiar comfies again. When I go to an awards ceremony, I typically wear a sparkly dress and outrageous shoes, but I don't spend all day every day like that, and nor would I want to. More importantly, it's not expected and not appropriate. So it is with our behaviour. So as I close this episode, please take a look at where you may have been using your introversion as an excuse, even in some small way. Consider what that cost you, because although you'll probably have a fluent justification ready to share, there will have been a cost. So build your full jigsaw out now and rewrite the story that the whole picture tells. Just don't start with the edges. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us and leave a comment, because we know that that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
You are listening to an Intentional Media Production podcast.